Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our session about how to improve your data quality with Microsoft Power Automate and the Power Platform. I'm Joel Lindstrom, and I have been a Microsoft Business Applications MVP for 12 years. I've worked for Hitachi Solutions. My role is a principal architect, and I am the co-chair of the South Carolina Dynamics 365 user group. I'm the owner of CRM Audio, one of the leading business applications podcasts, and also a co-founder of the website CRM Tip of the Day. So we do a lot of things in the community. So what we're going to talk about is something that is very important to me because I've worked on over 200 deployments of Dynamics 365 and Power Apps. And what I've found is the number one issue people have is their data. Whenever there's an issue and a problem, I can always usually trace the line to data, from user adoption to things not just working the way you want them to. Any number of problems can come from data. And so this is everybody's ideal when you talk about model-driven apps in Dynamics 365. We sometimes still fall back on the old way of talking and say CRM, customer relationship management, because that's still a key function that people use this platform for. But they have this ideal dream of this utopia where we're going to bring everybody together into one business application, and they're going to share data, and it's going to be beautiful. We'll all hold hands and sing songs and have one version of every contact, complete data. We'll be able to get a hold of all of our business contacts we need to. But unfortunately, this is the reality. It turns into a messy Rolodex. It turns into duplicate records. It turns into just a lot of problems. And we'll talk about some of the reasons why, but then we'll talk about some of the ways that the Microsoft Power Platform can help make this a lot better. And so what happens is users lose trust in the system. They don't trust the official business application, so maybe they start keeping a spreadsheet or just going off of what's in their Outlook. And then we're back to the problem we had before. Matter of fact, it might be worse. In my opinion, it's worse to have a business system that you think is valid and the golden Rolodex that isn't, because you could have people calling the wrong numbers or emailing the wrong people or frustrating users because if you ever call your insurance company and say, change my email address to XYZ, and they still send the old one, that kind of stuff really irritates people when it comes to a customer service and sales perspective. So let's talk about, what are some of the common causes? Well, how does your contact data get dirty? There's a number of different reasons it can get dirty. Some things are by design. So for example, I've seen cases where people make every field on the contact record required, but the salesperson doesn't have all the information. They might just have a first and last name and phone number, so they'll make up information. No email at yahoo.com or something like that. Sometimes our integrations are built in a way where we're integrating to other systems, and those systems have data quality issues. I do a lot of work in the credit union and insurance and other big industries like that, and what we see is they grow by acquisition. And so they will have sometimes 5, 10, 15 core systems that they're bringing together, and you might have the same person 5 different times in that, and they have different customer numbers or incomplete data. But also sometimes you have web forms where people are signing up on your website, and we all know if people sign up on your website, they're not always fully transparent. Sometimes they give incomplete data. And then you've got fuzzy matching, Will, William, Bill, Billy. One of my favorite reasons is overly stringent security requirements. So I had a customer that was a newspaper, and they locked down what their salespeople could see to only records they owned. But the problem was that somebody else was working with the same person, so since they couldn't see him, they created the same record. So there are out-of-the-box duplicate detection capabilities in CDS and model-driven apps. In my opinion, they're fairly basic, and I'll show you quickly how that works. So if I go and I set up a duplicate detection rule in my system, wake up, laptop. Okay, so I'm in my system, and I want to create, I'm going to create a record for Sean Tabor. And so let's go in. I get a business card for Sean Tabor. I can create Sean. I don't know how to spell this guy's name. Nobody knows how to spell Sean Tabor. But I know his email. It's stabor@hitachisolutions.com. If you have duplicate detection enabled, it will tell you, hey, wait, this is duplicate based on the criteria you put in. And you'll see I got another duplicates. But, and I can knock on salespeople because I was a sales guy for 10 years. So, you might not be able to, but I can make fun of the sales guys. But a lot of them are either really busy or kind of lazy, and sometimes both. So they can just hit ignore and save. It's not mandatory. So now we've got another duplicate in the system. And so that's an example of how, it's more of a duplicate suggestion than a real duplicate prevention. And so people can prevent it, but then once you have the duplicates, out of the box we have very limited capabilities to merge records. We can merge only contacts, leads, accounts, and cases, if I'm remembering correctly, and you can only merge 2 at a time. So if you have 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 duplicates, it's really challenging to do that with that. And so, like I said, it's an option. So this is where the Power Platform can really help. And this is one of the things that I find Flow, aka Power Automate now, is really good at. It's not the thing that gets the most attention for, but something that I've found in my projects has been very effective to do that. So I'm going to go through a few common scenarios. We only have a few more minutes here left today, but I'm going to go through a few common scenarios of how this might help. So first of all, it can provide a tailored experience for the data admin. So the data admin, if you don't have one, you need one. Somebody who is the data steward and is responsible for the cleanliness of your data. His or her job should include regularly checking for duplicates, cleaning them up, setting aside what tool they're using. You need somebody's got to own it. But the problem is, if you have the big business application, it can be cumbersome for them to do their job. They have to go around a lot of places. So you could build a Canvas app or a simple model-driven app that gives them a very focused experience. And I'll show an example of that. But also, it can add some teeth to your duplicate detection. I'll show you that. It can help you identify records that have problems, need to be cleaned up. And it can also help you more efficiently merge and clean up your records. So let's get started with that. So first of all, how can it help you find the records that have enhancements? So this is based on an actual scenario that I've delivered for some customers. Most recently, a client that was a professional services firm, and they were multinational, so they had European, North American, South American, and they had to comply with not data residency, but GDPR and other kind of data privacy laws and things like that. So they really needed to get a handle on their data. The more duplicates they had, the bigger risk it was. But they also wanted to be effective in marketing. They used HubSpot for marketing, and so they wanted to be able to make sure the records were clean so that when they did a campaign, they could get that information to the right people. So what we did was we created a record scoring system. And so I'll show you kind of the end result and then how the flow is built. So on the record, we have two things, a data score and a score comments. So this gave us on a scale of 1 to 10, how complete is this record? And then from the score comments, that tells the data steward, these are the fields that are missing data, so he or she then knows what should be enhanced with this record. And so then let's go in and look at the flow. So in Power Automate, I'm going to look at my flow, contact scoring flow. So in this flow, we're doing a bunch of things in this flow, and this is the simplified version. This is just for example, but I would have this run on update or create if you use the new current environment connector, which you get for the CDS when you create a flow inside of a solution. You can run the same flow on create and on update. But basically, I'm creating two variables, one for score and one for score details. The score is an integer variable that keeps the score, and then the details is the fields that need to be filled out. So then I'm just going through and checking, like first name. Does this contain data? If yes, then we're incrementing the score variable by 1. If no, we're adding the field name to the detail variable. And go on and go down the record. And the really cool thing is you can go in and add, not just fields on the record, but related records. So we were doing count the number of activities in the last 6 months, or count the number of marketing campaigns they've been in. That list record step is really powerful, because I could even then jump to things like I had a email exclusion entity that I created that had the do not email list in it, and it could bounce their email off of that and say, oh, they're on the do not email, so deduct points for for email readiness. And then just at the end, update the record and put in the score and the score details. Very simple. They were actually paying a vendor a lot of money for a service that did the same thing. We replaced the entire thing with Power Automate. So that was awesome. So that's one thing. So now, identifying and finding duplicates. So I mentioned duplicate detection. It's okay, but if you are working in bulk and you want to see, say, from a record, you want to see what are all the duplicates and very easily merge them, then it's not necessarily the best fit. So jumping back into my environment now, I have created a embedded Canvas app. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Power Apps, there's two kinds. The Canvas apps are the traditional Power Apps, but the really cool thing is we can embed them inside of model-driven apps in Dynamics 365 and work in context of the record. So I'm on my Sean Tabor record. I'm the data administrator. I know this is a clean record. We have maybe an integration with a data source, and this is the clean record, but I know that my dumb salespeople have created a bunch of other records, because as I mentioned, they might spell it S-E-A-N, S-H-A-U-N. Nobody knows how to spell Sean Tabor. And so what this lets us do then is, through this is a simple gallery filtered with the logic in our duplicate detection rule. I just want to merge all these in there. So I'm going to select all these records, the bad Seans, and then I'm going to simply hit the merge button. That will then trigger a flow, a Power Automate flow, and say contexts are merged. Let's go now and look at how that flow is built. So this is using a couple of fairly new things in the last month that were introduced. I already mentioned the current environment connector, but my other favorite thing that has been introduced is actions. For those of you who don't know actions, if you're in the Dynamics world, you probably do, but actions are customizable processes that you can put in there for complex actions. And so a lot of the out-of-the-box capabilities, like merging records, like closing opportunities, like winning case, like closing cases, there's an action in there. And now that we have that capability to call that from a flow, infinitely more powerful. So what I can do here is, in this flow, I am, from my Power App, I'm sending, first of all, getting the record from the model-driven integration, it gives it the current record ID, so that gives us the good record. And then from here, we are getting, from the Power App, we're getting the list of records that I selected in the gallery, the bad Seans. And then finally, for each of them, I am running a standard on-bound action, which is the merge action, and saying, merge this record, the good one, with the bad one, which moves all the related records, all the child records, all the activities, all the notes together. So the end result is one Sean, which is more than enough Seans. All right, so let's go back. And one thing I wanted to mention, this kind of thing can get a lot more powerful with some third-party add-ons. One of my favorite is Data 8, or depending on where you're in the world, Data 8 or Data 8. But Data 8 is a really cool service, hands down my favorite data enhancement and cleanliness tool for the Power Platform, because it's like duplicate detection on steroids. It does fuzzy matching, so I didn't even talk about the Will, William, Bill, Billy scenario. Out of the box can just do exact matches. This will do that, but this also does email validation, 5 different levels, all the way up to just basic saying it's the right format, all the way up to really complex, checking the MX record, saying, yep, that's a valid record. So if you really want to do this and you want to go beyond what I showed you, take what I showed you and add Data 8 to it. It becomes super powerful. And they also do global address validation, do not call list integration with multiple geographical systems. They will not let you hit the call button in Dynamics if it's on the do not call list. Really cool. So then finally, enforcing data policies. So I mentioned your data duplicate detection rules don't really have much teeth because they're optional. Somebody can hit the ignore and save. But I'm the data administrator. I want to know when somebody's done that. So number one, I know what I have to clean up. It becomes a lot easier when I know there's a problem immediately so I can go fix it. But number two, if I see Bob, the sales guy, keeps creating duplicates, I can go knock him in the head, train him, whatever we want to say, and then can deal with the issue. Maybe he needs some additional training, or maybe we just need to say, hey buddy, you need to stop doing that. So this is another thing that I love to do, is add some teeth to the duplicate detection. So I'm going to go now, and for this one, I'm going to go into my solution, because if you want to use the current environment connector, you need to create your flows from a solution. And a lot of the gaps that traditionally have existed, what you couldn't do in solution-based flows, you now can. And you even adding existing flows into your solutions. So what I'm doing here is fairly simple. I'm basically saying, okay, when a contact is created, what I want to do, or updated, what I want to do is, when a contact is updated, and trigger it based on the fields that are in your duplicate. In this case, it's pretty much just email. I am doing, first of all, I'm composing the URL because I want to put a link in my email. Now this could be a lot easier now, because in preview starting last week, we have environment variables where in your CDS you can store like this part of the URL, so you can have a dynamic thing. As written now, because this is the way we had to do it before like a week ago, this would have to be updated when I move it to different environments. But then I'm basically just listing the records that where the email address equals that one, but it's not that record. Yeah, so then what I can do, or basically I'm saying get all the records where this email equals the one that's created. And then if there's more than one of them, using a simple length formula, I am sending an email to the data administrator. So let me log into my email, and I'll show you what that looks like. Yep, so I got an email. I'm the data admin. Yep, I got a record. Okay, somebody created a Sean Tabor record. And then I can click there and simply see the record, merge it, do whatever I need to do with it. So those are some simple ideas. Again, you could do a lot more than that, but I only had 20 minutes to talk to you this morning. But that hopefully will give you some ideas of how you can take these tools, all these great connectors, and all these capabilities we have with Power Automate, and use that to make your data administrators' life easier, and also make your data cleaner and drive user adoption in your environment. And if you could, please go ahead and evaluate the session. The deck will be available as well from the technical community, so if you want to get that and look at that, you're welcome to.